It actually blew my mind. I was starting to question myself and what I was reading, and I was like, is this real? So I actually had a different psychic that I know do a reading on it too, but I didn't tell them what it was. And so it was very interesting what I was reading and what she was reading and the way it lined up. It was just blew my mind. So, anyways, what was it that I was reading? Let's get into it here. So, I was looking at something someone request. Actually, I've had multiple people request that I do a reading on this. So it was SEERS is what it's called. It's Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome 2025 is what it stands for. And it's interesting because the S and the SEERS stands for Syndrome 2025. So it literally has a year attached to the word S, which is interesting. So this was done. Hold on. I'm going to pause this so I can pull up the website about it and read it to you. Okay, so this is a website. It's yournews.com. This article is interesting. It's about this SEERS. It says this is a fictional scenario. The people involved are Bill Gates, Johns Hopkins, and WHO conduct another pandemic simulation with deadlier virus that targets children. So these are like practice drills that are done to, kind of play out a scene. So I'll keep reading. Simulation involves virus from Brazil that has a higher fatality rate than COVID-19 and disproportionately affects children. And that's very interesting to me with what my friend psychic was reading. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation conducted another pandemic tabletop exercise in Brussels, Belgium on October 23, 2022. The same people behind Event 201, which took place almost 3 years ago to the day, just completed a desktop simulation for a new enterovirus originating in Brazil. So I'm going to scroll down to where they explain Event 201. Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic, scenario-based, facilitated discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global businesses, government, and public health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. And that basically happened right before COVID-19 happened, so it was kind of almost like they were practicing for COVID-19 before it happened, which is why this is floating around as a precursor for something that they're practicing for. So basically, the, I guess, more conspiracy sort of idea here is that this is planned out and that they know this is happening, and that's why they're running these drills to prepare for it. The exercise, dubbed Catastrophic Contagion, simulated WHO Emergency Health Advisory Board meetings addressing a fictional pandemic that spreads from Brazil to the rest of the world. In addition to Bill Gates, 10 current and former health ministers, and by the way, I'm done reading the Event 201, now I'm back to the SEERS event. 10 current and former health ministers and senior public health officials from Senegal, Rwanda, Nigeria, Angola, Liberia, Singapore, India, Germany participated in the simulation, which involved pre-recorded news broadcasts, live staff in quotes briefings, and moderated discussions. The virus in the simulated, called the enterovirus, has a higher fatality rate than COVID-19 and disproportionately affects children and young people. The phenomenon is dubbed SEERS. Enteroviruses are any of a group of RNA viruses, including those causing polio and hepatitis A, which typically occur in the gastrointestinal tract, sometimes spreading to the central nervous system or other parts of the body. And then they explain what Event 201 was in the past about coronavirus. As such, the fact that some globalist organizations who conducted that exercise are also behind the catastrophic contagion simulation is both alarming and foreboding, especially with the inclusion of the specific year 2025 as the start date. Speaking of 2025, another coronavirus pandemic exercise preceding COVID-19 that also involved Johns Hopkins was called SPARS 2025 through 2028, which examined the global pandemic response to a respiratory virus that spreads from the Philippines to St. Paul, Minnesota. So that was a lot to read. So thank you for sitting through that if you already know this information. Sorry that took forever. But I will go ahead and get into my reading, and then the other psychic's reading. So what I'm getting is that 2024 is the year of the reckoning, is the way that I would put it. This seems like the economy is not doing that great. It seems like everything is just kind of falling apart and life is difficult. This isn't just something that I'm saying now because of where the economy is at and where people are forecasting things are headed. This I've been saying for like at least a year, maybe 2 years. I've been saying 2024, 2025, there's massive change. 2024 is going to be, kind of difficult leading up to 2025 and 2026, where things start to look better. So, also the corrupt powers are also facing karma, kind of like karmic payback, I guess, and so it's not just the economy and the people suffering, it's also the higher ups and power and the corrupt systems in charge of that who are also suffering. So, to the COVID leak, what I get for the COVID leak was that it was an accident, but there was still something going on that was meant to be hidden, and that it was a leak from a lab. However, they knew that it might leak, and that's why they did a fictional scenario outlining a similar situation before it happened, that being Event 201 that I was mentioning earlier. Many people running the SEERS fictional scenario drill seem to be doing it just to prepare in case of a situation. But I get that the organizations involved in running the operation may know more than many of the people involved in the drill. That would be Bill Gates, Johns Hopkins, and the World Health Organization. Johns Hopkins seems rather innocent and unknowing in the matter, but the WHO and Bill Gates seems like they have a trick up their sleeve. I get the sense that this is related to genetics and may target certain people more than others. Again, it was in South America, and that was also something that the other psychic was saying later as well, so just keep that in mind. Fortunately, this whole plan, I don't see it coming to pass. 2024 seems to be a year, like I was saying, where things are destroyed, that being good things and bad things. 2025 seems like, and this is the year that it's said to happen, 2025 seems like the beginning of something new that is going to be influenced from both sides. As the world grows spiritually and the vibration of humanity shifts, we will no longer be in a situation of self-destruction that can be seen by a few as justification for their actions. So there's a link to this news article that I was reading earlier, and I will include that below here in the description below the video somewhere. So now on to the part that really blew my mind, which was this other psychic that I know reading it too, but the way she reads is actually the same way that I read, but I do a lot more kind of interpretation and like putting it into plain English for people, but she reads it from more of an abstract angle. So I'm going to go ahead and just say what she was saying because I was writing it down. So she was seeing, and by the way, she didn't know what it was. All she knew was that it was called SEERS, SEERS. And I asked her if she knew what that was. She was like, nah, don't know what that is. And she was like, okay, I'll see what comes up. She said, spreading pieces of synthetic toxins. Black, brown, white, gray, almost seem like they may be conscious entities. And so that could be interpreted many ways, true or not. She also said, fake roosters. And again, the way she describes things is way more abstract than me, but I will kind of interpret what I think that this means. Fake roosters, well, roosters, swine flu, where are viruses said to come from? Usually it's actually birds mixed with other animals in a farm, and there are farming practices in America that actually make that, in the United States I should say, that make that illegal to mix certain animals together in the same cage, whereas places like China, there's not so much regulation about things like that, which is why a lot of the flus, besides for just coronavirus, but a lot of the flus in general tend to come from China. But anyways, it was a fake rooster. So there's something fake about it, which was interesting because this was a drill. So that may be why it was a fake rooster. She said, fake farm animals that a girl is disappointed by her elders in for allowing this to happen because it is not like how her book said a farm should be. So this is a little girl. The virus was said to target specifically children and younger people. And she was saying it's not supposed to be like this. The next thing she was seeing was a creepy man that resembled a spider wearing white gloves in order to cover his fingerprints. Then she said something that really interested me. She said it reminded her of Bill Gates. But then she said it wasn't actually him. She said he was an entrepreneurial person and into engineering. He is not as powerful as he may be portraying himself. He is trying to convince the girl that this is in her best interest. He had to do with agriculture and peanuts and coffee, but tubers and tomatoes are not worth investing in. So that's interesting. Maybe we will see less tomatoes and tubers in the world and the price will go up. I don't know. Also, he works in America but is more invested in Europe and doesn't really care about America. Okay. Then she said she saw a turtle, and the turtle was saying that the immune system is weakening from this operation. Keep in mind, she doesn't even know what SEERS is about. She doesn't even know that it has to do with Bill Gates. She even said that it wasn't Bill Gates after saying that it was. So, fascinating. Anyways, Turtle says something about water and transmission, and how the water interacts with land masses it comes into contact with. And potentially maybe that's about transmission of a virus. I don't know, but who knows. When I asked, why is this happening, she said there's some sort of economical purpose to it all. And then she said that it reminded her of going green, which makes sense. Making all plants uniform to grow easier, making them all kind of the same so that they can be grown easier, but it will get rid of diversity and lower the ecosystem's strength as a whole, because plants and animals with more diversity, just like, way back when people didn't go to bed at the same time, some people would stay up later, some people would be awake at different times of the day in order to watch over the pack of humans back then, because that, kind of like you don't put all your eggs in one basket type of idea. So anyways, when I asked, what is the future outcome? She said, less joy. Then she said, debt, like owing money. And something is secret and not accounted for. Then I asked more specifically, how does this end? And she saw a contract being signed in a business meeting. She also saw, and this is interesting to me because I was seeing the genetics of different people associated with different areas of the world. And so she was seeing a French person, an African person, and then she said maybe a South American person, kind of questioning that one, but she said it, so I wrote it down. Being forced to work with other people that they don't normally work with. And this seems to me kind of like validating that there's some sort of compromise here, still trying to sneak something into the contract with the cooperation. So again, like I was saying, they continue on, like their initial plan isn't quite done right, but they continue on. She says sneaking something into their contract. What is the purpose? And her answer was a shortcut being taken. I was questioning what I was writing until she kind of confirmed all of this, and I'm just like, okay, all right. So that is my half-hour long video about the SEERS. What is it called again? SEERS. Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome 2025. Maybe I will put an edited version of this on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. You can always get a private reading from me at my new website is now just plain simply psychictie.com. It's now much easier to sign up. The website is more professional looking, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen it already. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, the full version will be on my Patreon page, so check that out. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.